Hey guys, Heavy Arms 45 here. Now, about a month ago almost now, I talked to y'all about me. I tried at one point my hand, I'm trying to be a playwright. I told y'all my idea of if somebody was trying to make a part two to Death Note, live action movie that was on Netflix. Yeah, that was so much fun to do. It's good to have ideas, but when it comes to stories like that, I do have a particular story that I made. Um Being a black man, I decided that one time as a kid I wanted to try and produce a play. Cause I want to be, like I said before, like Tyler Perry, start off doing plays, work my way from plays to doing movies, and that way I'll be able to um and the fame wasn't the thing, but getting myself out there and be able to make a living doing something I love, which like I said is creative writing, is what my plan was. To do something that I dream about doing, being able to draw draw on from my ideas is probably what I was trying to say, and build up a character and personality of people that I think would be interesting to see on the silver screen or you know 50-inch TV that you have in your living room. You know, I would have loved to do either one of those. But at this time I want to say I was in junior high, and it was Black History Month. And for Black History Month, my church decided that we had this program that we were going to do for Black History. And so my church, I gave to see what would happen. I turned in a play that I created that was somewhat nuanced, I guess you could say, where it was trying to compare slavery back in the 1800s to the mental slavery that we have in the base at that time was like 1999. So it it was something new I was trying. It you know it was my first time also trying to write. So it was a new idea. I thought, hey, this would be a great idea. So I went ahead and did it. And to my surprise, my pastor went ahead and said that, yeah, we will go ahead and do that. And this is the first time I learned the lesson. And at the end of it, I'll tell you the lesson I learned. But he said, you can't do this on your own. And I'm thinking, like, the hell I can't. I mean, like, literally, I wrote this thing. I had the vision in my head of how I wanted it to be. I had the vision of how I wanted it portrayed because this was my play. I wrote it. I saw the characters that I wanted to be in different plays because I've seen plays that my church had done before for other things, and they're little short things. And so I figured that, hey, I could I could direct this. I You can give me a adult to supervise me directing it, but I could direct it myself is what I thought. But I'm a child. And in my head I thought I was a child. Like all the other stuff, that was my arrogant idea of, hey, I could do this. I don't know. I don't need you to send some adult to try and do it. You can have them there to make sure that I don't screw things up, but you can't just put them in. I was like, okay, yes, sir. Let's go. So he gives me a lady of the church. We'll call her Sister Bonds. Now, Sister Bonds is a nice lady. Sister Bonds uh, is talks to me about the idea of the play and all this stuff. And like I said, I've seen other plays that we've had at the church, and they always use the same people. And so I'm thinking, out of the people that they normally use, I know exactly who I want in different things. But this new person, Sister Bonds, wants to bring in all the other kids and have auditions through all the kids that was in the church to try and put new blood. Since you're new to doing this, we need new blood to try and build. I was like, I know. I'm personally, I'm upset because I'm like, I know I won't. I'm like, I wrote these things with these people's conversation in mind. The way this person talks was already written into it, is what I'm thinking. But that's not what I said, like I said, because I'm a child. So I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. So we have people to audition for different parts in the show. Now, like I said, I wrote this thing. I'm like, I'm knowing what kind of voice I'm looking for when I have somebody to audition for it. Now, the other problem was, I don't think Miss Bonds ever read the thing, but she liked to basically. So when we did this audition, I'm thinking, okay, since I'm the one who wrote it, and I know the voices of everybody, I know who best fits this. Because I felt like I just said, she didn't read this, so she doesn't know how these people actually are. So when we're doing this, I proceed to get ready for the audition. I'm thinking that I'm gonna have somewhat say to it. And no, I don't have any say in it, because not only am I am a part of the choice of cast in the auditions for this show, for this play, but it didn't really matter. It didn't matter because my voice was the voice of 4 people. No, 5. Instead of me being the one able to make a choice, because like I said, I know the voice of the characters I am putting into this show. I know what I'm hearing. If someone has a voice that could go with it, I can hear it from the way they speak the lines. So, me being on to this group, where now we're doing this diplomatically, which I didn't want to do it diplomatically. This is my show. I wanted to direct myself. This is what I want to do. Why are we having you tell me what I'm going to do? But I was a child. I didn't understand. So, we voted on the cast. Each person wrote down the person they thought was good at each one of the scenes. And I got some of the people I wanted. And there was a snafu. The snafu was this. I had a set of characters. I had 8 characters in particular. This character was supposed to be somewhat of the turning point for some people, because there was a section near the end where this guy is basically being talked about because he saw things differently than other people. So this group of teenage kids make fun of him because of the way he's thinking, and because he doesn't see stuff, or his brain's not enslaved like the rest of the kids. That position wasn't voted on. That position was given to someone. They didn't let no one, like, out of all the people that we had to be try and be democracy over, that one position was given to someone, and I had no say in it. Why? Because I was a kid and I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, that one offended me. But we'll call this person Fred. So, Sister Bonds had put Fred into this position. And I'm like, the wheels in my head start turning. I'm like, Fred doesn't come to church. I'll Sister Bones, I'll call Fred. Fred, we'll try and make sure he'll take the part, and we'll make sure that we send him a script so he can learn the lines, and we'll go ahead and take care of that. If it sounds like I'm smoking, I have a toothpick in my mouth, and I feel like I could take a cigarette right now, but I don't smoke. Now, we get into the situation where, we've picked our cast. We have, let's say, a month before the show. We have let's say about once a week, we try to do one practice. We do one practice, I think, after church, and one practice during the week. And so we're going through all this stuff, and I'm sitting back looking at how people are doing, and the people who came there every single time we did stuff, the young kids, I was so surprised by them. Like I said, I was a kid when I first went there, thinking, hey, I know who I want here. This person not don't have a voice. And some of them actually did have the voice. They had the voice that I could actually hear the character coming out of them. I was very proud of them. The other ones, and when stuff finna be screwed up, and I knew it, cause the first practice we had, Fred didn't come. And Fred had a little brother that was also in the show that didn't come. That they voted him. They didn't even vote. They had us vote him into the position. But even though they voted him into the position, he never really auditioned for the position. They just, I guess you could say, it was busy work, because he never came. His brother didn't come, and he didn't come to try and see, get these lines. So I say something to Sister Bonds about, hey, Fred's not here for these lines, and we're trying to go ahead and get through this. Well, she's like, I'll talk to him about it, and we'll try and make sure that. And in my head, I already knew. I knew it in my head. I'm like, this thing finna be screwed up. This thing really don't be screwed up. I can just feel the screw up that's finna happen, but I can't say nothing, cause after I'd said everything but to her, cause I'm like, okay, I have always been taught to be a person of my word. And so when she said that, I'm like, okay, this is what you said you don't do. So I'm watching, I'm trying to make sure that everybody's doing their lines right. Like I said, in my head, I was trying to do somewhat like Tyler Perry. So each end of each one of the scenes had a song at the end of it. And because the script was like maybe 30 to 45 pages. So going by how they say for screen writers, it takes about 1 minute a page. Fine. So I felt like by having a song at the end of each one of them, you kind of filled in some time. You add an extra 2-3 minutes to the end of it as they're switching from one scene to the other and all this stuff. Well, and also, of course, you have to do your scene change, which it's a church program. You're changing scenes, and we're like basically using different parts of the church. Like we're using parts. We couldn't use the pulpit because if you ever been to a black church, the pulpit's the holiest of holies. No one can go in the pulpit, but people can go behind the pulpit. So we had people working in the back of the pulpit. We had people working down there on the floor. We had different scenes moved to different parts of the room, and we were trying to make sure that everything was crisp and all this stuff. Well, we get into a situation where one of the scenes, we didn't have a song. We did not have a song to it because I didn't care. Um, I really didn't think that we needed a song after a dinner scene. We're having this dinner scene, and so after having songs in other parts of it, Sister Bonds felt like maybe we need to have a song here, and people trying to figure out what song we could have. Me, because I'm already feeling like this is starting to feel like a crapshoot because we have people not coming to come to practice. So I'm like, they're not don't know their lines, and she's guaranteed me that they don't know the lines, and I'm like, no, they're not. I just say, how about the Jefferson? Fish don't fry in the kitchen, and I said it as a joke because to me, this whole thing right now is feeling like a joke. If you hear this pause, you already know what I'm about to say. Yeah, they put the Jeffersons theme song as part of the goddamn play when we were doing it. I was so I was embarrassed in a way. I was embarrassed over having the Jefferson because the Jefferson song had nothing to do with what was going on. Probably in like other parts where I had like slave scenes and stuff like that, it made sense to sing Negro spirituals. It made sense there. I might have like other songs that weren't really Negro spirit. I mean, were kind of basic songs in other parts of the of it during the modern parts. But what does the Jeffersons have to do with that part? It was talking about how the whole point of it was talking about how dealing with the food that we ate back during slavery time is the same as we eat nowadays. But that's not what you got. You start having people talking about fish don't fry and all this stuff, and that's the only reason that it made sense because it had something to do with food. But the song itself had nothing to do with it. So I was somewhat ashamed over it. We're about now, like I said, I wrote this thing. I know everybody's voices. Um after doing after a while, like I said, we practiced for about a month. The week of the show, when they're gonna do all these different presentations, and my play was gonna be the last thing on there, I get a call. On my mom's house phone telling me that Fred is not gonna be able to do the part, and asked me if I would be willing to do that character. Now, I like being. Now, this is something I learned later on in college. I like being in the background. I don't mind being in the front, but I like rather being in the background because I don't mess up in the background. I like being the person behind the curtain. Like when you're talking about the Wizard of Oz, I like being the man behind the curtain making everything move, not the one up front that is actually being seen. So that's why I would love to be director of the thing I wrote. But it's in the past. In the freaking past. Now, I know this is a small part. The scene only requires me to be there for this one scene. It's not much to be said. It's an important scene, but it's not much that you have to specifically do with the character. This is not a very in-depth tale. You have heard about him through the whole play, but it's not till this point that you actually see him. So I practice my lines, and the problem that I have with it is Fred's brother was one of the other people that I'm supposed to be blocking with me on this scene. And this other guy, so there's supposed to be 3 guys in this scene. Fred Fred's brother, who was playing a different character, and another guy. So Fred's brother and this other guy, it we'll call Tom. And we'll so Fred's brother and Tom is supposed to basically rag on Fred's character, and Fred's supposed to say something inspiring. Fine. The blocking never happened because they never came to practice. So, when it's presented, it was just as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, like, if every other scene, like, I felt I was fine with everything that was going on in each part of the scenes. I was fine. No, everything was shifting just right. We we had a show. We actually were doing good. My scene was the final scene. I come in like I'm supposed to. They come in and I remember my lines like I'm supposed to do. They proceed to start checking me. I'm saying the lines like I'm supposed to do. They still checking me. I'm still saying my lines like I'm supposed to. I'm trying to now adjust the lines somewhat from what I'm saying to what they're saying because they're still checking me. And in the end, they giggle and walk it off and like it's not a big deal what I said. I don't know if the meaning of what I wrote came out. What I do know was I was embarrassed over that scene. It made me feel like I was ill prepared because I took a drama class back in school, and I knew that such thing as improv, but in my head I had worked so much on doing the actual scene, and because I knew the scene because I wrote it, and the other people didn't, I didn't know how to block with them because we never blocked it before. It frustrated me a lot. And the thing that I learned more than anything else is that, and this is the thing that stuck with me that I said because I was planning on doing this again sometime. I said, if I ever do this again, I ain't letting no adult direct my stuff for me. I'm like, you don't let me do it or we ain't doing this thing at all. I'm tired of y'all doing this to me. I'm like, just because I'm young doesn't mean I don't know how to do my own stuff. That frustrated the hell out of me. I hate it that I came to you with what I thought a good idea. I didn't need you to push me out the way and put this person in the place and usurp any type of power I had. I will agree that she had some good ideas when it came to coming up with an audition so that new blood could try to. I respect that part of it. But pushing people that don't like being in the church in the first place to do jobs that they don't really want to do frustrated me, and I felt ruined my show. And I'm going to continue to say it was my show. It was a show that I created. It was something that I created, and I felt like it was disrespected because I was a kid. I felt that because if I was an adult, they would have gave me the liberty to try and do it my way. But since I was a kid, they belittled it and let someone else railroad over me because I didn't know better. This is not like if I was having sex with somebody at my age of 15 and they 20 something. That's statutory rape. Everyone knows that. No, I know how to run something like that. Why? Because I made that play. I knew what was in my stuff. I would have gave people that I felt was responsible the capability to do. After In my opinion, and if you disagree, you can write in the comments. I would love to hear. In my opinion, the first time that Fred and his brother didn't come in for the scene, we should have went ahead and start looking into recasting. By the second time we had, because like I said, we had a month. That meant we could have moved anyone into those positions before this, so that I wouldn't have had to do that. And if I did have to do it, I wouldn't have to do some cold turkey trying to block with people who've never blocked before, who hadn't even read the script before. I think they only read script right before they came up there, and it kind of flattened out the message of it because that, yeah, as a kid, no one's gonna tell you what you did was terrible because they're like, everybody did such a good job. Why? Because you're kids. Teenage, whether you're a teenager or a 5-year-old, everyone's going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you tried your best. Even though that's the case, like I said, I respect every single kid who actually came out, tried, and did a great show. They worked on their lines. They did their parts very beautifully. I am just disagreeing with people who want to usurp power from somebody just because they feel like the person doesn't know how to do. Give the person a chance, I would like to say. And that's what I learned. Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves someone willing to listen to them and see how they want to do it. And I think that since I wrote it, I would know how I want to. I didn't give this to the pastor to, just throw it to somebody else because I was afraid of doing it myself. I gave it to him so I could have responsibility, so I would have the responsibility of being able to direct it myself. I understood that I probably needed an adult there because they're not gonna have a kid in charge of all these other kids with no adult supervision. But I wish they would let me go ahead and have my choice of how I wanted to do it, and I think it would have came out a lot better. To be honest with you, I haven't even looked at that script since I wrote it. Since that day, I'm not embarrassed over it. I just haven't looked at it. It's not because it's just like it's so horrible. He just can't look at. I just don't want to. It, I think I looked at it one time and I was like, the message. I can see where, I wasn't the most brilliant of people in the way I did, but at the time, I thought that the way it was written was brilliant. I never wrote anything before, but I would have loved to try and do it my way. Like everyone's talking about the Batman v Superman. No, I'm sorry, not Batman v Superman. The Justice League movie. And they keep talking about how they don't like the Josh Whedon parts. They want to have the full Zack Snyder cut. I would have loved to have the Heavy on 45 cut of that play and just see how different it would have been. I would have probably kept some of the cast, but those who didn't come, like I said, I would have went ahead and found somebody else to replace them. You shouldn't hold a spot for somebody who doesn't want to be there. That was just my opinion back then, and I still agree with it. And that's been over almost 25 years ago. Over 20 years ago. 20 years ago that happened, and I'm still frustrated over something that happened 20 years ago. Why? Because it was something that I was proud of. It was something I worked on. And I wish that I would have had the opportunity to make it better than what I saw it come out to be. Thank you for listening to my rant. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I know that y'all know this is just a rant, but yeah, whatever you decide to do, in your life. I hope that you take your chance, and unlike me, if you're wanting to try and take the wheel, say you won't take the wheel. There's no one that's going to argue against you saying what you want to do. And if you want to check out my friends on Twitch, as always, their Twitch names are down in the description, and I'll catch y'all later.